we can say that the prospects of the lifelong learning in the university colleges. I greet all of you, the participants. For the today's webinar, we have Professor S.Y. Shah, who will share this webinar, and he is a director in International Institute of Adult and Lifelong Learning, and the visiting professors of the several university and the eminent scholar in the field of the lifelong learning. We have a keynote speaker, Dr. Sanjeev Roy sir, and I welcome Sanjeev Roy sir, and he is also Sanjeev Roy is a UNESCO fellow and Erasmus Mundus scholar, is an education management professional, has nearly 3 decades of experiences in the field of education and skill development in India. He is also the founder of managing trustee of the Roy Foundation, which has a mission of time to give back. Presently, he is working as a senior key expert in higher education, that is especially in the Erasmus Plus, and he has published the several books that is on the higher book that is on the ICT and learning skills development, and especially he is expert of the higher education and the lifelong learning. I greet you, sir, and welcome to this webinar. Now I hand over to the mic. I hand over mic to Professor Rajesh sir. He's a professor in our department and our supervisor. He is also the leader of our research team. So there is no need to have any such kind of the introduction to Professor Rajesh. Sir, his work is especially on transgender and the lifelong learning is very vital in our field of lifelong learning. I greet Professor Rajesh sir and hand over our mic to Professor Rajesh sir. Professor Rajesh sir.
Professor S.Y. Shah, chairperson of today's session, Dr. Sanjeev Roy, main speaker today, the theme speaker today, Dr. Mohan Kumar. I see Professor J.P. Dubey also joining. So, Professor J.P. Dubey, other honorable members who have joined today, research scholars and students. As you know that we have lots of webinar during the lockdown period on various issues and concerns, especially on transgender issues and concerns. Today also, I have to address the Gujarat state level person at 3 p.m. On that issue. But today's webinar is very, very important in view of the Department of Adult or Lifelong Learning thinking in the light of new education policy 2020, sustainable social development 2030, that how the university system under the University Grants Commission in higher education can think, visualize, conceptualize lifelong learning at undergraduate level. I could realize during 11 plan when Professor S.Y. Shah was the chairperson of the guidelines committee of lifelong learning and extension of the University Grants Commission, and accordingly we have started master degree in lifelong learning and extension. And some of the key things that we have visualized, our department has visualized, the university system has visualized, are part of the new education policy 2020. For example, internationalization. For example, multidisciplinarity. For example, internationalization. For example, uh, global core curriculum. All these aspects of the new education policy, which it talks and gives more focus on the multidisciplinarity, are being already incorporated in the choice-based credit system master degree of lifelong learning, which our university system has done in the past. Now the new education policy came, our department and various forums including Indian Adult Education Association, organized a webinar, in fact, seminar at that time in India International Center on this new education policy, and it was given to the Education Ministry at that time, MHRD, the various themes. So, in the light of the development, we wanted to explore, conceptualize that how the multidisciplinarity, the global concept of lifelong learning, which has all the components added or incorporated, which new education policy or sustainable social development goals talks about, or World Education Vision 2030 talks about lifelong learning, about this. And while coming today, I have also requested the Pankaj Bohra, who is Professor Pankaj Bohra, Director Institute of Lifelong Learning. He said that he is busy today, will not able to join, but all the wishes to the webinar, and he will continue to provide the technical and professional support to the department while conceptualizing lifelong learning at that level. So what I will do, that I will not at this moment tell anything. I will hand over to the chairperson, Professor S.Y. Shah, and he will just, take the proceeding of today's a very important webinar. Professor S.Y. Shah.
Okay, good afternoon. Thank you, Professor Rajesh, for inviting me to chair this session, which I consider a great pleasure and privilege. I would like to congratulate you because selecting such a topic which has not been discussed so far, because curriculum at undergraduate level is an important thing. As you know, the new education policy has two implications for curriculum. One is graduate level, BA and BSc, they are considering make it a 4 year, and master's program make it 1 year. So that means we have to rework the curriculum at the graduate level and postgraduate level. And again, the new policy says after first year, you will get a certificate. Then second year, you will get a diploma. Third year, you will get a BA degree. So this also helps us to formulate a certificate course in lifelong learning, a diploma in lifelong learning, and BA in lifelong learning, and MA in lifelong learning. This will also give us an opportunity to rework our curriculum and revise our reading list, because as they see, most of the university departments courses, reading list were quite old. They need to be upgraded. Last 2-3 years, lot of new literature has come, lot of e-learning material has come. So we can use this material and revise the curriculums. That I see a very important implication for this. So such an important topic is about the curriculum of lifelong learning, and I am very happy that Sanjeev Roy has agreed to talk on this, because as you know, he is one of the handful of Indians who has done a master's in European masters in lifelong learning. He has also associated with European Commission. He was also associated with UNESCO Institute for Lifelong Learning, where he did research on prior learning. He was also associated with National Literacy Mission at a critical juncture when they were introducing prior learning recognition. UGC came with the guidelines, Arne Carlson came to India. Unfortunately, it could not work out, operationalized further. So I am sure Sanjeev Roy's experience and expertise will help us in formulating a very good curriculum at the undergraduate level. And at the postgraduate level, we can also look at revising our curriculum. With these few words, I hand over the mic to Mr. Sanjeev Roy to share his experiences and views in how do we formulate a curriculum at the graduate level. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Sanjeev Roy.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Dr. Sanjeev Roy, please. Yeah.
Good afternoon, respected Professor S.Y. Shah, sir.
Good afternoon.
In real terms, is a friend, a philosopher, a mentor, a guide. And for all the other people who are listening today, he is the actual modern guru of lifelong learning. So to be very honest, when Professor Shah is here, I'll contribute, but my contribution will be a drop in the ocean. And I'm also honored to see V. Mohan Kumar sir, again, an expert in this field. I think India as a country, and especially adult education as a sector, is honored to have Professor Shah and Mohan Kumar sir. So नमस्कार सर, एक बार और आप लोगों को Thanks to Dr. Rajesh, whose enthusiasm I'm aware of since my days at National Literacy Mission Authority. Every time I have met him, he's full of energy. He wants to do something. So I'm really honored and I feel privileged that today he has considered me worthy to be invited to contribute to the prospects of lifelong learning at a undergraduate level. So namaskar Rajesh ji aapko. I can also see Dubey sir. Dubey sir, namaskar and namaskar to all of you. Before I proceed, let me tell you, I'm not an expert, but yes, as Professor Shah said, I'm a student of lifelong learning. So what I'm going to say is from the student's point of view. I'm going to say is from the industry point of view. I'm going to say as what I feel. My whatever I say might not be applicable in terms of curriculum, in terms of pedagogy, in terms of DU syllabus, international syllabus. But I thought then you would ask me, why did you come to speak? Because I thought today we are at a juncture where lifelong learning, if you look at the noise which is happening around after March, after COVID, today after 7 months, be it any industry, be it education institutions, be it the defense, be it civil servants, everyone is talking about lifelong learning. Why are they talking? It's not that they are forced to talk, because we all of us in our life were trying to chase the rainbow. When I say chasing the rainbow, we were running. We were like headless chicken trying to achieve something. लेकिन हम सब भाग रहे थे, right? So today what COVID has done is it has by force stopped all of us. सबको रोक दिया. जहाँ थे वहीं रुक जाओ और सोचो अपने बारे में. So I'm so glad that at this juncture, when a country with a new education policy is hovering around, the helicopter has taken off. We hope it carries on with the mission. So all of us today can contribute. So I congratulate Dr. Rajesh for this brilliant idea of introducing lifelong learning at an undergraduate level. That's the need of the hour for me, which I think because, as I said, industries, people all across are looking at what is going to happen. COVID-19 has created this lifelong learning, which is the top of the policy agenda. Lifelong learning as a medium is recognized by one and all. We all have started talking about it. So my key statement for today would be what I thought, that what comes to mind when you think about education? For many, it means going to for college education. Why I say that? Because all of us sitting wherever we are today, we have been privileged enough to get school education. We have been privileged enough to get +2 education. We were born in a family where education was something compulsory. So what is that which we did on ourselves was college education. Because after school, so today education is all about college education, which for me I disagree. I think is the right time as a country like India, we should say today education should be all about lifelong learning, not college. College is an instrument. College is a place. It should be all about lifelong learning. If we need to impart the right education to every individual of this country, we all know India is getting younger. We all know the youth population, which is in the pipeline, ready to explore. But if we want the youth of this country to come forward, I think it's high time Delhi University leads on this, because being one of the premier universities to introduce lifelong learning at the undergraduate level. Now, if we look at the famous Horry report which said learning to be in 1972, while advocating lifelong education, it specified 4 elements of learning society, embodying fundamental alternatives to the prevailing concepts and the structure of education. Learning today in our country needs to be looked at from a holistic approach. A new birth is required. Currently, what has happened is, in a country like India, we had adult education department, and we know how, despite the efforts of Professor Shah, Professor Mohan Kumar, all these great people, now we know adult education department where it is going. So what happened in India? They said, okay, adult education ka naam badal do, lifelong learning kar do. I think it's high time as a country, lifelong learning needs to come out of the shell of adult education. It needs to come out of the shell that it's only literacy. It needs to come out of the cell. It's a continuing education. It is something because today we are in a situation where the top corporates, top business schools, civil servants, defense, everyone is talking about the lifelong learning. So I think it's the right time to change the curriculum, introduce a new curriculum, at looking at which should be conceived over our framework of learning. It needs to be seen from the modern prism beyond distance learning and online learning. We need to put emphasis because in lifelong learning, if you read any report, right from her to the UNESCO Institute of Learning, they all talk about how to put emphasis on learning needs and the individual choice. I don't think in a country like India, we have given enough emphasis on the learning needs and the individual choice. We have made a syllabus and it's been offered in the universities, it's been offered in the colleges. So since we are in a position today in 2020, where the new education policy gives us the opportunity on a 4-year program, you could, after every year, go back to the industry. You could go and develop your skills and competencies. So I think we practitioners, we experts should be, when looking and developing a curriculum, look at the need of the industry and then only start making lifelong learning. And I also think right now it's very important that we should not only be focusing on lifelong learning students who will go into teaching. That's only one aspect of it. Lifelong learning has to be a 360 degree. You know, this is like 1950s when Harvard or the Yale or the Chicago business schools, they started doing management. You know what they did? They introduced case studies. They had to think differently in terms of management. So they were preparing manpower who could develop themselves and who could go and develop the society. So I think lifelong learning is to be the only course in our country which could provide that platform for any individual who should do this program, and the world should be an option for him. So lifelong learning, of course, I'll not get into the definition of it because there are many experts sitting here. So I think as a society, we need to change the mindset. We need to look into what are the policies. Luckily, it's a very good program today we are doing. And I'm sure Dr. Rajesh will be doing many of these webinars in which she will be collecting ideas. So we really need to look at the real world. And we should also put emphasis on formal recognition of lifelong learning. Again, I say that if you look at India, we look at the Kothari Commission report, way back in 1964-66, it said education does not end with schooling. It is a lifelong process. I wish our educationists, our people in the policy making, our ministers could have taken this forward. Had we listened to the Kothari Commission that education is a lifelong process, today our honorable Prime Minister's Atmanirbhar Bharat would have been running on its own. We would have not need to put emphasis on Atmanirbhar Bharat. So lifelong learning, when we're talking at an undergraduate level, should be something that could be able to create this Atmanirbhar Yuva of India. So that is what I think we should. It should be introduced at undergraduate level. Of course, there are challenges in a learning society. There are also issues around what counts as a knowledge in a knowledge society. Because in India, what has happened is traditionally, parents are also responsible. Kids are also responsible. We do a course only which will get you a good result, which will get you a good job. So job prospect is very important. So we don't talk of knowledge in a knowledge society. We talk of job in the society. We talk of certificate in the society. So, as a growing individual, so what we need to focus on, that the course curriculum should be focusing on growing the individual. Give the individual a scope to think lifelong, life-wide, and look at learning, not education. Like Duke very rightly said, that despite its strong humanistic origins, the concept of lifelong education was trivialized to mean adult education and continuing education. So what we all people have done across the world is we have put lifelong learning today into the bracket of adult education. I think if a new policy we have in our country, when we are looking at introducing at a undergraduate level, we need to look at from the new prism, where we need to recognize and give space to the modern human capability and the social dimension of learning. Lifelong learning can enhance the understanding of people around, can provide better opportunities to improve the quality of life. Like we need to look at what technical degrees did in India, what the management degrees did in India, what the medical degrees did in India. Why did the youth, as is understood, in the 60s, in the 70s, even till today, you see medical results are out, Akash comes with a full page ad saying so many students are qualified. Why can't the same thing? Because that's a perception of the society. Society needs to accept that lifelong learning graduates are the ones who can do everything in life. So for me, lifelong learning should be the highway for Atmanirbhar Bharat to travel on. We need to look at a 360-degree thing. In the new syllabus, I think we should look at, because we need to think ahead of times. Like when I was doing my MBA in
Maybe there is a power failure at your place.
I think there seems to be a power failure in this area.
Yeah.
And he stays in Connaught Place. I don't know how. There is a power failure.
Maybe he should switch over to cell phone.
Okay. Is it possible, sir?
Yeah, well, you can access it through phone also. Maybe Nidish can send a message to Sanjeev, use your phone. We are not.
Sure, sir. Sure, I'm sending.
He has left the meeting.
Oh, really?
Maybe
He has
linking
left
with
the meeting. That's what it is.
He would have gone to find out what happened.
ये मोबाइल के क्या कहते हैं, हॉटस्पॉट है, इससे जुड़ सकते हैं. ठीक. He's joining with mobile, sir.
Yeah.
He's trying to join with mobile now.
Okay.
Sorry, some I think inconvenience.
No. These are the problems.
These are the technology-related problems.
Technological glitch is always there, sir.
Yes.
You can take it as hurdles to implement the NEP 2020.
Our young faculty, Rahul, has also joined. Welcome, Rahul. जो research scholars हैं, they have to do along in this area. सर जब तक वो ज्वाइन करते हैं प्रोफेसर साहब, कुछ हम लोग इंटरेक्शन कर सकते हैं.
नहीं, we have to now. This is one area which universities can start thinking, revising their curriculum. At the master's level to shift 1 year to graduate level and look at it, because Delhi colleges, all the undergraduate BA, BScs are run by colleges. So if you have to develop a undergraduate curriculum, you have to identify college who is interested in introducing lifelong learning at the graduate level. Then you have to start thinking. Then you also have to look at the master's curriculum. What aspect can go down at the BA level? It is only going to be 1 year. So what things can go down at the BA level? And you have to identify colleges, see the curriculum, look at the curriculum, get some latest reading list. And a lot of, technology-based materials are available. So how to use that? So you can continue do silent work in the university level, looking at curriculum, revising, restructuring it, 2-year MA into 1 year, and the 3-year BA into 4 year, and classifying it. Yeah, please.
I think he has already joined.
Yeah.
Welcome again.
These are the modern day life in Delhi.
ये हाल है VIP एरिया में.
या तो मोबाइल पे ही करते रहना चाहिए जब भी करो. Sorry for the disruption. So what I was saying was, when you're looking at a new curriculum, can you hear me?
Yeah, sure.
So we need to look at, for example, I was saying when we were in mid 90s, and I remember I had gone to do my MBA. So when I had to submit my first assignment, they told me type करके देना होगा. I said I don't know how to type. So I said I can help. My writing is very legible. It looks very nice. Teacher said, I love your writing, but you will fail if you don't type. So what I'm trying to say is, what in the mid 90s was important, that we should all know computer. So then I remember when I made my CV after doing my MBA, I wrote, I can use Microsoft Word, I can use Excel. So it was considered a good thing. But today, if in a CV, if someone can use Microsoft Word, I don't think that is going to be appreciated. So now looking at a new paradigm, we are looking at a new lifelong learning for a young country like India, where the youths are coming through a pipeline. I think we need to introduce something like artificial intelligence. We need to introduce something like a deep learning, analytics. We need to make them, because we use the word competency and skills, but do they understand what is competency, what is skills? So as a course curriculum, if we teach and our curriculum is developed along with the industry, we say, okay, these are the skills, these are the competencies, and if we could add in the curriculum. So acquiring new skills, like for example, when I was doing my lifelong learning course, I remember a term, it said organizational learning and learning organization. So I never knew. I always thought, okay, organizational learning was fine because I had learned in my MBA. But lifelong learning taught me there's a learning organization also. So now what is learning organization as a concept? So I think we should look at these into the curriculum. I also think there's a need, there's an interface in a course like lifelong learning, where we talk about the social sectors, the health sectors, the social services, and adult education should be a component of it, because that is where the origin of lifelong learning was given to, in the adult education. So a graduate in lifelong learning should be one with a wealth of academic knowledge and research that will be effective in a workplace. Because today, I think the best practice methods of sharing information and others, because a lifelong learner graduate should join any organization or be a entrepreneur or join anywhere, he or she should be the person who has been able to contribute to the learning organization. If we create that kind of graduates to our system, as you know, the two scholars, Apton and Chapman, said that they say we see lifelong learning as having a multi-specific character with relationship to a broader and a more diverse set of economic, social, and personal goals. So I think in the course curriculum, a lifelong learning graduate should have a set of not only academic goals, not only research goals, it has to be economic, it has to be social, it has to be personal goals. Then only would you be able to make a sense in the society where they are living. Again, there was another scholar who said that they see lifelong education involving fundamental transformation of society, so that the whole society becomes a learning resource for an individual. So today, what is happening is, we say go to a college, read a book, read a journal, and that's your learning. I think this curriculum, this course, should be a platform which becomes a learning resource for each individual. So I might be a math graduate, I should be able to take credits from the lifelong learning program. I might be a history graduate who wants to become an IAS. At the same time, I should come and take 15 credits from lifelong learning, whatever is of interest to me. So under the new education policy, I think is the right time that we have been talking about SDG 4, as Dr. Rajesh talked about it. And in SDG 4 goals, we have said we want to promote lifelong learning opportunities. Now, what are we promoting? 2030 is round the corner. It's 10 years. We have been talking about it. But so I don't see what are we doing much in the coming 10 years now. 2030, dekhte aa jayega. Kalam Saab, when he wrote the book, he said Mission 2020. That time when you read the book, He said, wow, if Kalam Sam would be alive 2020, India will become like this. Today we are in 2020. Read the book and you'll feel disheartened. What have we done as a society? So I think, good that we are talking about it. We should be moving and we should be looking at lifelong learning, which I totally disagree till date what has happened as a catalyst for that people put lifelong learning into the bracket of informal education or non-formal education. Unless until this is put into the formal education so that the youth, they aspire to come here. Because a formal education is developed into qualification, which is more important, which is more relevant in the society, which gives you a job, which gives you an income, a resource. Or while planning, we should be looking at the formal education part of it. When students come from school and they go to college, it should be the only program. See, right now we have so many programs and in the BSc, BA. But what happens is they are a program in isolation. Lifelong learning should be a program which, if I attend, I should be college ready. The moment I apply my program, when I come out, they should say, okay, Sanjeev has done this program, he is college ready. Once I'm college ready, I should be ready for the career. Once I'm ready with the career, I should be life ready. So basically, we need a program which should be total umbrella of readiness. This is one program where youth should come. It should be branded as something like, as I said in the beginning, like management was done in the 50s. So I think we need to look into it, get the best minds out of the country, get the people from across the world, and start looking into it that how do we imbibe the principle of lifelong, life-wide, we say talk of learning, not talk of education, and we create really valuable individuals who come out of the system and can stand out to the society. So this transition we need, and I think the education system, we should be thinking about school and the work, conversely between the work, education, and training, as I talked about, learning organization. So unless until there are dots connecting the school with the work and connecting the work with education and training, we will not be able to deliver a course which would be valued by the young. Because see, while developing a program is a good thing, but we have to understand young students of our country should be a. So I won't be going long because I know it's a lunchtime for many of you and the other people as well. So I'll conclude that as a society, we should offer, I agree, lifelong learning should be offered at an undergraduate level so that each individual is ready to meaningfully engage in the society. And as they say, we should be खुद ही को कर बोलना कि हर तकदीर के पहले खुदा बंदे से पूछे be able to produce graduate those who would बता सही लगा क्या. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, Sanjay Roy. You have given us a lot of stuff, for us to think, reflect, and digest. I am sure Professor Rajesh will take care of these things. This will be the beginning of the discussion that is going to happen, revising curriculum. Concern of the university people is to develop adult education or lifelong as a discipline of study. So our challenge is how to develop it as a discipline of study, how to start at the undergraduate level, take it to postgraduate level. We have never focused on undergraduate level, although we talked of the certificate course and diploma course. But now this has given us a very good chance to, develop a 3-year, one certificate, one diploma, one post, graduate. IGNOU is the one university which their master's program, 2-year program, if you complete 6 months, you get a certificate, postgraduate certificate. If you complete 2 semesters, you get a postgraduate diploma. If you complete 3rd and 4th semester, you get a master's degree. So they have worked out in a nice way. So this is the way probably our other universities also needs to learn. And especially at BA level, as you said, we need to have some modules on lifelong learning, because exclusive course on lifelong learning, I don't know how it will work out. Ultimately, it is colleges who have to run it, So we have to see whether they have the faculty, because this will be a new discipline. Colleges should have a faculty to run the program. So what are the implications for finances? What are the implications for, colleges to run the program? Otherwise, master's program, you do 1 year, many colleges will have to introduce fourth year as a specialization. There is lot of thing we have to discuss and work it out. Maybe Dr. Rajesh has made the right beginning. It will take time because we have to discuss with other university department. Everybody has to come together. Maybe UGC will set up a committee to restructure, because every 12 universities which are right now offering master's program in adult continuing education, they have to come together, look at the curriculum, what aspect can go at the undergraduate level, what aspect should be retained at the postgraduate level. So lot of work needs to be done. I am sure this group, especially our Rajesh will take interest. His own colleague Professor Dubey, Indian University Association for they can play an important role. Indian adult education, all professional organizations should come together, but we have to work it through UGC, because unless UGC sets up a committee and work on it, this will not be acceptable to at the university level. So we have to work at the UGC level. We will wait for it. And now let ministry is working out the operational modality of the policy. I am told their focus so far has been on foundational literacy program. They want a national mission to strengthen foundational literacy. When I asked somebody who is involved, he said now our focus is to have national mission on foundational literacy. Adult education will come later. So maybe our restructuring curriculum has to come from UGC level. They have set up a committee. Maybe you have to, our important people, dynamic leaders like Professor Rajesh Dubey, they all will work with UGC. And then UGC has to be oriented at the importance of lifelong learning, which we missed about in 11th plan. We started lifelong learning. Now let us work on it. I am sure with young faculty together, they will do a good job. Okay, now over to Professor Rajesh. You would like to add something? Whether anybody else has some question?
I think, sir, first we should open for some questions, some query.
Yeah.
If somebody has, then we'll just further go. Yeah. Mani is a permanent teacher in political science department in Delhi University.
Okay.
And he is a research scholar of our department. So I hope what do you think, Mani?
You have to unmute your mic.
Unmute, yeah. Unmute.
You have to mute your mic.
Mania.
Len, you wanted to say something? Len?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah. First, Doctor, I was very much it's an honor to have a renowned and well-experienced scholars from adult international learning background. I'm so happy to be part of the platform where all of you share an inspiring curriculum which to take forward. It was my honor meeting all of you, sir, senior professor, Bon Kumar sir, and the excellence of the research. And this was an honor meeting all of you. I'm a scholar, PhD scholar from Delhi University Department of Education and Continuing Education. My supervisor is Professor Rajesh. Under his guidance, we mold and we shape for future. We learn, we discuss, we dialogue. It's all about we are shaping one another. We work a good place where young scholars are molded and shaped for future. It was a great honor to be part of the education. We're coming to the current. Since I was my MA, I was the first MA batch along with Gitesh and some of some of our colleagues. But only few of us remain. Still experience. So we have the first batch of 2014. So the experiences we have for MA, MPhil, PhD was tremendous. We have learned a lot and about giving back to the community. How can we promote literacy and development, community development. How will we think society give us all in our mind? And, and then the third comes, academic intervention, non-governmental intervention, and government sector intervention. This is all inclusive development. Where the learning experience is quite challenging and exciting. And then apparently with the new education policy development of under undergraduate for courses in different colleges. But, even I discussed with my colleagues and professors, this is a good opportunity. A regulation for adult education to reform, to reconstruct, and then stress on implementing adult education, lifelong learning in undergraduate. Well, when from our department, the university, the academic curriculums are more on theoretical, practical. It's very inclusive, I would say. Uh, in fact, we don't take most of the syllabus for human rights development, research methodology. It was obviously they have taken most of the part. Conflict and I find it from the recent uh, uh, modification of MA curriculums in the university. Counseling and guidance can play a vital role, and then human rights and development also have a job. And then moreover, like adult education is inclusive and then and everything is interdisciplinary. So I think we can open a door so many. This is just a beginning. After somewhere we collect most of the information and then bring it forward in a specific format that all of us can learn inclusively. In my opinion regarding was that, and my the question is general, and then all of us can respond. Uh, we were stressing on lifelong learning. So to me, I think it is also good to mention adult education, lifelong learning. Uh, because lifelong learning depends on.
Okay, Len,
Yes, sir.
uh,
Yeah.
now have you added what you wanted to say?
Yes, yes. The last question is.
Yeah,
Uh,
please.
in fact, all of us coming together and beginning to share ideas. So how come uh, uh, the professor has mentioned a very good point that we need to identify most of the universities which can offer education. So my question is how reliable and uh, how much adult education can go to be a professionalization in adult education? How do all of us stakeholders can pick up this story in career? Thank you.
Okay,
Sir, am I
before
audible now? Sir, Mani
Yeah,
this
yeah,
side.
Mani,
yeah.
you are audible.
I don't know
Yeah.
what happened to the system. I have to rejoin. And good afternoon, the dignitaries. And it is very fortunate I'm joining this session. And it is really very enriching session for us. As a department, I have recently joined adult education and lifelong learning. Uh, But as a person, I was in connection with Professor Rajesh sir for a very long time, and I know the department, whatever status department has this time, it is a very hard work nature of Professor Rajesh is behind that. So I wish that this department would move forward. Uh, I have one small question to Sanjeev sir and everyone else that this time UGC and everyone, whatever knowledge I have, if we need to introduce any course, we need to run that at self-financing mode. So, what would happen if we are planning to launch this lifelong learning at the university level at different colleges? So, whether it would be funded by UGC or we have to run it on the basis of self-financing mode. And if we would make it as self-financing mode, how attractive it would be. Sir, it is up to you, sir. Thank you.
Will you taking up the questions together? I think Dr. Sanjeev.
Yes, yes. Actually, I can answer that because I don't know about the UGC guidelines. That I think you people are compared that. But talking of the self-financing mode, I see there are two ways of going about it. Either you make the course so attractive that people see, look at tutors. I'm returning from Patna, right? I'm told a tutor in a Patna in a building, even after Corona, is charging 1,20,000 rupees, and he's speaking on the mic in front of a laptop. So it is what he's selling. So what is he selling is students who are learning. I try to do something. कितने लोग का selection होता है? No one knows, but people are attending his classes. So I think it's a question of demand and supply. If a program is made, as I told when I was talking, that it's very good to design a curriculum, but would that curriculum be attractive for young Indians whose mindset is very different now? They are staying in India but thinking they are in US or in Australia. They're all very modern. So for them, what is the kind of course would they be ready to pay? So how are they paying? पेमेंट कैपेसिटी comes कि हम ये कोर्स करेंगे उसके बाद मुझे क्या मिलेगा, right? That's why I said it's very important that the industry involved right in the beginning, right from early 2000. Narayan Murthy from Infosys has been complaining, whereas he goes to recruit all IIT students. He says if we interview 10, we reject 7 of them. Why? Because they don't have the skills. They only know about information technology. We want a person who needs to have certain skills. So that's why if we are in a position with the UGC, with the new education policy, that we have a liberty to develop a program in one of the premium universities of the country. And even if it's financing mode, I think that could not be a problem for students. Number two, of course, I work for the European Union. Like, for example, there are Erasmus funds. Erasmus gives you fund to develop a program. So if you have the right content and you're looking for a partnership, you could even develop between, for example, Europe and India. So it's not a problem. I think नियत चाहिए, बाकी सब अपने आप हो जाएगा.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
That is a
You wanted to say something, Parijita? Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. First, introduce yourself also, and then say, yeah.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir, for acquainting us, with the thought process which you have. And I am really fortunate to be part of this discussion because I'm currently pursuing my master's from the Department of Adult Education. So my question is basically when you talked about, looking at things from a new prism and making sure that lifelong learning, is seen as the big umbrella and which is not restricted to adult education. So when curriculum gets restructured, what all steps, would you suggest so that lifelong learning is not particularly considered and correlated with adult education only? That is my question.
See, Parijita, I talked about it. I said you need to involve the industry. I said, of course, education is a very important component. I even said adult education should not be removed because that has been the genesis. But we need to create graduates who are like have a 360-degree outlook. Because today, when we are going in the industry, what does industry need? They need people, as I said, if a proper curriculum is designed, which is involving the right people, which is practical. And luckily, with the new education policy, which allows after every year a student can take a break, go to the industry and come back. So we could create a graduate who he or she would like to do a job what they wanted to, not because what the system forced them to do. So I think that could be the way out.
Yes, sir. Sir, thank you. So if you allow, I have another question.
Yeah, please go ahead. Yeah.
Yes. So, sir, the thing is that I wanted to understand how realistic, would it actually be to bring about equivalency when we talk about formal learning versus non-formal learning?
Well, That's a very good question. I would like people like yourself to answer because you are a student. But unfortunately, in a country, it's like dignity of labor kind of a thing. Like when I was in Denmark, right? I'll give you a very good example. You go and you're standing in a store and you're buying your whatever grocery. The guy behind you is a painter. The guy behind them could be a sweeper. But in India, can we do that? We can't do that.
So
So
that's the sad part, actually.
so that is the sad part. So same way what has happened in our education system, open learning has been one of the biggest, what you call revolution. But if you look at UK Open University and compare with IGNOU, I'm not talking about the numbers. I'm talking about the graduates who are coming out of it. So the moment a student is from IGNOU, you go to in the interview board, the interview board tends to compare a student coming through an open learning and formal learning. So this is a mindset. This can only change when the government policies change. This can only change when we are part of the system because it's very easy to say, like FICCI, what they are doing, CII, but these are all on paper, it's not in reality. If today, why has skill development failed in this country? We talk of recognition of skills, but a job see, there's a job for an inspector. You're looking for 10 plus 2. People who are applying are PhD holders. So there's a big gap. What we have achieved and what the society is asking for. So, of course, it's a big thing. Whole thing needs to change. It is a very difficult part from formal to informal. But I think if government needs हो जाएगा, नियत चाहिए, we need to have the intention to do it.
Yes, sir. So good inputs for us to ponder upon. Thank you.
Thank you.
No,
Anybody else wanted to ask somebody?
I want to add one thing. Sanjeev
Sir,
talked
sir.
about the collaboration with the European universities, in developing the program. I think DU has a collaboration with German university. So, and many North American university, they have a 4-year graduate program. So how is their adult education? Some of the 4-year program has one semester in adult education, those who want to be instructor. So we can learn from that sort of thing. We can have collaboration with them. And then we should also collaborate with this. Now Delhi is setting up a skills university. That skill university is providing a lot of scope for, introducing this program at the graduate level and how we build on that. So we have to develop this program in collaboration with industry, other institution in India and abroad, because then we can do a good program. And I am sure this has opened up a good avenue. Certificate first year, those who complete first year will get a certificate, second year will get a diploma, third year this thing masters. So this is because we have been earlier thinking of developing a certificate course in lifelong learning for the instructors. So somehow, the UGC in the beginning, they did postmaster's diploma, then postmasters became masters. Now we are reversing, coming back. We want a certificate course and diploma course, then graduation, then post-graduation. So this has opened up a good avenue for us to look at our field and our potential job opportunities and scope for collaboration. I am sure in the months to come, we will brainstorming this idea and come out with a very good model. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Sir, one potentiality I see, which was instrumental in our master degree in lifelong learning also, that we discussed, is about the multidisciplinarity nature of lifelong learning. Suppose the new education policy talks about, but we see that in our traditional system, we are not coming out of box, which, we were talking, Professor Dinesh Singh was talking while there was a 4-year program, which now the government of India has taken up at the new education policy. We are not coming out of boundaries. Skills and competence and the job market has a different kind of a nature or requirement, but our discipline or theoretical kind of a thing has a different kind of a thing. Like if we are in history, we do not want to come in political science or economics, or so there are some multidisciplinarity. But what the potentiality we see in our lifelong learning, that we are able to cope. What Dr. Sanjeev Singh said, that we are able to take up artificial intelligence, we are able to take up deep learning, we are able to take up, coding. We are able to take up whatever digital on learning kind of a thing of learning. So our learning is that we are ready to have the internationalization, what Professor Shah said, that taking experiences from Germany, Europe, and other parts of the globe, what is happening at that level, and also wanted to see that our experiences, like skills university are there, and the socio-economic kind of a thing, what are the new areas and challenges that need to be taken up. On the one hand, a theoretical understanding that is also required, that is coming from adult education and other social economic discipline that we will be taking up. And on the other hand, sir, the skill and competence which the requirement of the day, what I see, sir, in our discipline adult education, last sentence I'm talking before giving opportunity, that our scholars who are the backbone of the system, not on in the university, but throughout the country, they will have to come out with very high quality multidisciplinary researches to see that, sir, now we will have to compete not with only Indian universities, but we have to compete with 100 or 150 universities coming out of the globe also, and opening their center at in our country, maybe branches of Oxford University, maybe branches of other university. So maybe Delhi University, maybe JNU, maybe their curriculum, maybe their delivery have to compete with, equip with. So what we have to do, that in the changing situation, in the changing paradigm, how our quality research, how our quality publication, multidisciplinary, that we have to do. So on the one hand, what I think, sir, that adult education or literacy, now the government of India is taking care of through the NLMA, or the foundational literacy has come up. We have to develop the professionalization or discipline so that the professionalization can help the student, the scholars, and they can truly able to develop the lifelong learning. So this is the challenge. And while planning for the curriculum, while taking up the courses from other disciplines, such challenges will come, sir. That is what I understand. Yeah.
Any more questions?
Yes,
Yeah,
I have one question. Okay,
Yeah.
okay, please.
I also have a question after him, please.
Please, please, ma'am. Please ask your question, please.
Professor
I will ask
Nusreen is
last.
here. Yeah.
No, I would prefer that you should proceed, Nitish. Please ask.
Thank you so much, sir. My question to Sanjeev Rai, sir, is that different universities, the Department of Adult Education is running the master's course with the different names. So how far do you think that these are the big impediment while formulating the curriculum of the lifelong learning in India, sir? And my second question would be what if the deficiency of the contents, the quality contents and the literature in the field of the lifelong learning, how do you think that these things could be taken care of while formulating the curriculum? Because without having the much knowledge about the lifelong learning, how could the scholars or the master student could be the vital while pursuing these courses?
See, I'll pick up on your, Nitish, on your second part, the quality part of it. As Professor very rightly said, there are various models across the world, right? So as a student, you need to do research. It's a very simple thing. You have got a web today. You look at the course curriculum of what people are offering across the world. And of course, few of them are successful, few of them are doing okay, few of them are not doing well. So if you have to create a new curriculum, I would pick up the best. I would pick up the things which did not work and why it did not work in the society in which they are. That is very important, because you very rightly picked up the word quality. If unless until the content has quality, unless until the delivery is not even 100%, 200%, it should be something. If I'm a young student sitting in coaching, I should really know this program, right? And I should come and apply for it. So why would I do that? Unless until you have a course. Now, in terms of nomenclature, I think again that's a very good question. It's a government's policy. We should have a uniform nomenclature so that there is no discrepancy, and young people have a clarity on what are the things. And as now we have also started doing, if you do a particular course, what are the grades, what are the learning outcomes? So if you have a right nomenclature, right definition with the right outcome, and you pick up any program abroad, you see they all define it. That if you'll be attending this class, what are the credits you get? I think we need to the drawing board and pick up the elements which have worked very well for us and pick up and borrow the elements from abroad and try to customize it as per the Indian art.
Thank you so much, sir. Yes, yes, sir.
Professor Nasreen wanted to say something.
Yeah, thank you. What I would like to say is that from what I have heard of the discussion so far, there are two threads on which we are proceeding. And I would just like to sort of bring them together so that there is some way in which we can actually take forward in the form of an action. So I think one whole thread is that lifelong learning is multidisciplinary, and it is also something in which we have very little research. And we are here as university department. So I think that university department should carve out a very definite role for themselves in increasing research. We have failed dismally actually in research with adult education too. But if we are to behave as university departments and promote this discipline academically, then we will have to definitely concentrate on research. The second thing is, research thrives also through action and implementation. And I see one very good established area in our country, which is, the B.Ed institutions. The M.Ed and the B.Ed institutions, because teachers are amongst the first who should really know the tenets of adult and lifelong education much better than they do today. I have had the opportunity to look at some of the curriculums of, B.Ed sort of teachers, and our educationists themselves don't have sufficient knowledge. So I think that if stalwarts here like Dr. Rajesh, Dr. Sanjeev, Dr. Shah, all of you are here, if you could initiate sort of move with the National Council of Teacher Education to see in what way adult and lifelong education can be included concretely as a very specific area, and at two levels. There can be a basic input at the B.Ed level, and then there can be, if they have specializations, then this can be a specialization for some of the students passing out. And every year, more than 20,000 students in the country complete B.Ed and M.Ed courses. What it would mean is adult and lifelong learning is going out into the academic and the education community through 20,000 students every year. And I think it is only the NCTE which is capable of actually incorporating this into the syllabus. And it's a good time for us to attempt it because all the changes are coming. The national education policy has come, and it is a good time to sort of make a foray. Maybe minds are more open and we would be able to do it. So we will have research in our own departments, university departments, and that research will be underpinned by action and implementation with, say, institutions in teaching institutions for teachers, for educationists. Thank you.
Very good suggestion.
Now I would like to hear something from Professor V. Mohan Kumar sir, because I want to hear his view that what he want to include under this debate.
I told that I came here to hear from the experts. Are you able to hear me?
Yeah.
I have only one or 2 points. One, the MA curriculum itself has to be pruned now, lifelong learning, because the core areas must be kept and the other areas must be deleted. That is one. Second thing, it's a good thing that graduate level lifelong learning must be introduced so that there is a bigger cadre for MA. So whatever the students study, and then they can carry forward in postgraduate level. As Professor Shah told that we must be ready for certificate, diploma, and degree courses. So, what is the curriculum which we are going to propose? So, proportionately, one. Second thing, the next one is, long before we used to have major and minor subjects in graduate level. What is the major subject? What are the minor subjects? So we must be ready for lifelong learning to be a major subject also and minor subject also. So people can choose, anybody can choose anything. Now they say that even the engineering students can choose arts and science subject, and arts students can take anything, even fine arts and performing arts also. If anyone wants to do Manipuri dance as a subject of study, then they can have it if it is offered, or Carnatic music, or Bharatanatyam. So now the whole thing is getting changed. So we have to not fit ourselves into it. Lifelong learning has to be part of the mainstream now, so that it is appreciated by everyone. Particularly, the curriculum must be very carefully drafted. That is the only thing I just wanted to tell. Thank you very much, and then I congratulate Mr. Roy. Sanjeev, very nice. You analyzed lifelong learning in a very detailed way. It is excellent. So I was keenly watching your presentation. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Nitish, I assigned this task to interns also. Would they like to say something? Our interns, Satendra, somebody here? Anybody from internship group? I have given you assignment to take up this. Satendra, you wanted to say something? Satendra?
Good afternoon.
Hello?
Yeah, you may continue, Nisha.
Good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon, everyone.
Yeah.
Myself, Nisha, from MA second year. Intern under Rajesh, sir. Sir, I will just add on my... sir, I had taken that questionnaire and gotten the responses. Sir, I will just add on कि जो graduation के under students हैं, they are just not aware today even that some course like this is available in Delhi University, MA, and even 12th pass student I had also added in. They were just like, oh, this is a course which is available. So we need to firstly inform the people that this is a course in which you can do your graduation, post-graduation, and then it will be like a progress to our course and our department. Thank you.
Okay. Satendra, you wanted to say something?
Sir, I wanted to add one line with Nisha. Sir, it is only my experience when first time I heard this name, Department of Adult Education. I agree with Nisha. First of all, I could not understand what is adult education, and then someone translated it to Hindi, Praud Shiksha. So I thought this course is only for the aged people. My first reaction was after reading or after came to know about this course. My first reaction was like Nisha is saying. So our course should make a bit more popular because people don't know about all these things. People don't know that the Department of Adult and Continuing Education is there in the university. So we need to focus on this also. Thank you, sir.
Sir, can I just continue one more line?
Nisha.
Sir, I had two teachers too in my survey, the school teachers. When I told them, a sir said it was just like for them, it's like 15 to 35 years of age. They don't know that this is a course which they can opt for and do their degree in it.
Okay.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Anyone else have any question? Okay, so now we are also running out of time. So thank you so much, Twaisa sir, Sanjeev Roy sir, for presenting such a wonderful idea.
Sorry, before you wind up, let me allow one sentence. I know that organizers should speak less, so I will try that I will have one sentence. What we will have to do, Professor Shah, Dr. Sanjeev, and all honorable members here, that while the new education policy at the university level, implementation committee is already there, Nitish. So, what Dr. Nasreen also very rightly suggested, that we should also try that through National Council of Teacher Education on the one hand, through SCRT diets on the other hand. So, in the university system also, what Mani and Nisa have given the feedback that let us have a sum, maybe for 1 credit or 2 credit or few credit, some online, offline credits available, recorded or unrecorded material available through the departments, that this is lifelong education, this is lifelong learning, this is adult education, this is adult learning, online, offline, credit maybe, and that may also be come as part of certificate diploma on the one hand, and also can be given to those who are not doing diploma or certificate course, but maybe that colleges can pick up that course. This is why Mani, I told you that we wanted to organize the activity in your college also. This was in our mind, that
Yes, sir.
unless like sir, Institute of Home Economics or Lady Irwin College have a similar programs, master degree programs or undergraduate programs. So many credits can be unincorporated in that. So what we have to do here, that maybe at the graduation level, how will come up, and maybe some credits may be incorporated to NCTC and other courses. All these models we will have to think upon. Yeah. Thank you. Please continue. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. So yes, indeed, because today is the first webinar on the curriculum issues and what could be the component under undergraduate program of the lifelong learning. So we just talked about the basic idea, what could be the main components under the lifelong learning, who are the partners that may be joined under the formulation of the curriculum that as Sanjeev sir has stated. So I also thanks to Professor Professor Nasreen Rustam and Dr. V. Mohan Kumar sir. And thank you so much for joining all the research scholars and the participants, because it is the first one that we have arranged. We will arrange the several webinar on these issues, and we'll sit and discuss what could be the modality for the formulation of the curriculum and introduction. Thank you so much again, and have a good day. Thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you all. Thank you, Dr. Sanjeev sir. Thank you, Professor Suhaisa, Dr. Mohan Kumar. Thank you, our colleague joining. Mani also, you are a faculty member. Professor Nasreen. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you all.
Thanks.